Looks a lot better. How's the volume? Can you hear me all right? Please type in the chat if the volume sounds good. Volume? 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 Okay. All right. See if anybody else is gonna tune in here. We got one. Give them a few minutes. Maybe that's all we got today. All right, they can always pop in at any time and check on what we're doing later. All right, today we're looking at this bad boy. One of my favorite models of the Atmos. And we'll get everything set up and we'll be ready to roll. Light looks good. Hopefully volume is good. Looks a little choppy on my screen over here. But on the phone it looks great. So I don't know. Hopefully you get the better quality version. And this is just a Ask Me Anything Friday. If you want to just hang out and watch while I service this 522, it's totally fine. If you want to pop in, ask me questions, don't feel like you're interrupting or anything. It's totally cool. That's what we're here to do. You can ask anything you want, really. I might not answer, but I'll try my best. Especially if it's related to Atmos, I'll have something to give you. All right. All right, this is Mr. LaFleur's Atmos 522. And we are ready to roll, man. He wants an overhaul. He wants 24 karat gold case restoration and dial restoration with the deep blue metallic lapis dial. But today we're just going to do the overhaul. Oh, we're going to need that. All right. Looks like it's just me and you, partner, but that's all right. Everything good here. And we begin. truly unique. One of the most standout Atmos clock models that are out there. How's the volume, guys? Good? We got 4 people. Okay. All right. Thanks for coming in. So again, we're doing this Atmos 522. Belongs to Mr. LaFleur. And he wants the 24 karat gold case restoration jobber and the dial restoration. These caliber 522s were made in the 1950s. And one way you know for certain you got a 1950s clock is when you have the blued steel screws on the movement and other portions of it as well. And then you know you're dealing with the 1950s. It's really common for these 50 models dial to have oxidized to a brown like this. And sometimes it's so evenly brown that people think, you know, that's how the dial was originally. It almost, you know, instead of having spots and specks like this one, it'll be so evenly brown on a big solid 519 that it almost appears like it was made that way. But in fact, it was actually a silver dial originally. We're ready to go, man. We're live. Please pop in there and mention if the volume's no good. And this is an 8mm box wrench. If anybody's looking to pull their bellow drum off, 8mm. Bellow isn't flat, but it looks a little depressed. We are in kind of a cold front, low pressure front moving in. But we'll test this out a little more later, make sure everything's good. If not, we can refill it. February 15th, 1954. I think Valentine's Day is the 14th, so it was a Valentine's baby. Sometimes you'll get a date on the back of the dial too. Yeah, this will be cleaned up. Okay, we got some chats going. How often should they be serviced on average? Why doesn't that show up here? Okay, there we go. There we go. How often should they be serviced on average? With the Atmos clock, you can just run them until they stop. It's anybody's guess as to when that's going to happen, and obviously, you know, your environment that you're running it in will have some effect on that. But because the Atmos clock uses such low power, you can just run them until they stop. You don't have to schedule lubrication every 2 to 3 years as if it was a cuckoo clock or a grandfather clock or whatnot. You won't do any damage. Just run it until it quits on you. And even if it stops on that first time, you might want to attempt to restart it. John Steffen, you wouldn't happen to have a wonderful Atmos clock with a blue dial to show, would you? Well, I don't know. I might have sold it. I might have sold it to the Sheeny. You probably don't know what that is. Most people didn't have Sheenies, but in my grandpa's era growing up when he was, you know, a young adolescent, this guy would come by in a horse-drawn cart, come down the street and buy things from people and collect rags and things like that, and they would go and pick these canning jar tops at like the junkyard or glass bottle, Coke bottles and things. They'd go collect those as kids and then sell them to the Sheeny. So that's where your beautiful Atmos clock went. And I'm completely kidding, of course. It's right over here, and we'll probably look at that right after we're done servicing this 522. Stuck on there a little bit. There we go, and I'm holding that mainspring there to keep it from unwinding like crazy. And so that did have power on the mainspring, a little bit of wind on it there. But any resistance within the movement will inhibit the clock from running. So that's where we come in and get it cleaned up. How's the volume, by the way, guys? Everything good? Your volume, video good. Okay, great. Thank you. That's what I like to hear. Improvement from last week. I kind of a rookie with the live stream stuff. I've done some before, but I'd like to get better. If you bear with me through some of these hard times, maybe someday we'll actually have kind of a professional looking live stream going. And thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. It's awesome that you would be interested in watching something like this, so boring and antiquated. It's about 35 degrees outside today in Minneapolis. Winter is upon us. Had some light snow flurries, but nothing accumulating on the ground yet. We stand up here. Okay, mainspring action. This one's bone dry. And that's what probably 90% of the stoppages come from, is just a dry mainspring. They get sticky, they get gummy, and they also get dry, and then you're not getting the power release when it's stuck on itself like that. Pile them up on the tray here, and then we're going to clean them. Very nice looking movement. We're getting about the same weather in Michigan. Yeah, I bet. We got those big Great Lakes there, adding to the lake effect. I don't mind the cold weather. You know, I love sun and I love summertime, but when we get this winter like this, it's a good time for me to buckle down and get some clockwork done. Keep me inside and, you know, moving along with the work here. And that works out quite well. And that's kind of the story of Antoine Lecoultre himself. In Switzerland, they were kind of farmers in the summer and watchmakers in the winter. Now I dropped that bushing. Okay, where'd that go? This is where you will find watching clock repair guys often. Down on their knees in front of the bench. I heard it hit, but we get this magnet here. I think the bushing is magnetic. I might be wrong. Where the heck did that go? Well, for time's sake, I think I'll just grab one out of my box, and then I'll find this later when you guys aren't watching. Yeah, that's the way we're gonna do it. You'll have to remind me to look for that. Here we go. That's what we lost. It'll turn up. Yeah. Okay, VSX7629 mentioning the sales of the Atmos on eBay. Yeah. I was talking about how the eBay no reserve auction tends to drive the prices downward of Atmos clocks, and yeah, when I officially kind of got started here with Curt's clocks, I noticed that overhauled and repaired Atmos clocks were only selling for like, you know, 600 to 800. Meanwhile, the non-running for parts or repair clocks were going about 400 or 500, and that was, you know, quite a low value, and worked some magic. And now you see that many people are listing their repaired clocks for at least 1,500 to 1,800. You know, which is more realistic and respectable. And then that's the idea too behind these live streams and behind this YouTube channel, is to create more of a awareness, more of a demand. The instructions and, you know, support that I provide with my videos help people to make the most of their Atmos clocks, keep them running, and then prevent them from just dumping them on eBay. And I agree that there are fewer and fewer that you're finding, so that demand is increasing for the clocks. And then you find everything you dropped in there from the last 5 years. Yeah, right. I removed the carpet. Okay, there was carpet here, and went with some linoleum tile, which makes it easier to spot screws and whatnot, but it also leads them to bounce a little bit or roll. So it's kind of a trade-off, but yeah, we'll find it. It's there. I just don't want to look like too much of a fool on the live stream here. Suppose that's inevitable. But, you know, you gotta have some fun. Okay, everything is taken down. We're gonna grab our replacement bushing for the time being, and we're gonna also run that through the cleaner. What else? This one does have a little bit of residue on the roller, so I'm gonna clean that up too. And with that one, come over to our one dip solution, which comes in very handy for the cap jewels, hairsprings, balances and staffs on watches and whatnot. I do use it for like the 8-day models. Get some of those balances all cleaned up. And I have to double bag it because it's a very rapidly evaporating solution here. And I'm also very careful to only keep it on the roller, because this could eat away some of the finish on our other portions of the clock here. Let's put on the Q-tip. You just come up here and get that roller cleaned up. Some of the goop and gunk off of it. Make sure that's spinning freely. Cleaned up. Looks good. One dip. Hairsprings, jewels, and pallet stones. Okay, all right, it's gonna get a little bit noisy in here. Gonna run these through the cleaners, ultrasonic cleaner, and that ultrasound seems to interfere with internet connection and video a little bit, but it won't terminate it. And then the dryer makes a little bit of noise, so that's what we're gonna do here. But I will be right back. Thank you for watching and tuning in, and let's get those likes up. You hit that like button, it'll show this live stream to more potential viewers. Okay, everything looks good so far. Looks like it's still working. So we have ultrasonic cleaner with a gentle cleaning solution for, it's called fine, for watches, movements, important not to remove any lacquer or finish. A light rinse, alcohol-based rinse. We have the dryer box, and then while switching from cleaner to rinse, we have the air compressor and blow off any of that cleaning solution to prevent it from contaminating my rinse solution. I feel like I should have done a video for daylight savings time. Springing forward 1 hour is pretty simple, but to fall back, it takes a little bit different technique. I've mentioned that in other videos, but you want to I'll wait until I'm done with the cleaner so you can actually hear me. After how many weeks you know for sure that a clock works good? I'm not sure how much interference you're getting with the cleaner right now. I could certainly answer you, but maybe I should wait until I'm done with that so I'm certain you can hear me. Oh, you can hear me? Okay. Well, it's usually about, I mean, the overhaul itself doesn't take me a whole lot of time. The majority of the time the clock spends here is running an observation of the timekeeping. Make sure that it's keeping time, because this is analogous time, meaning the previous 12 hours are incorporated into the following 12 hours and the following 12 hours and so on. So a minor discrepancy of, say, 30 seconds off of timekeeping will take a few days to accumulate and reveal itself. So, I usually let them run for 2 to 3 weeks, at least, to make sure the timekeeping is satisfactory. And even so, shipping it back to the new owner, a slight amount of regulation is normal. When you move a clock from one surface, running from my shelf to your shelf, there can be a little bit of, regulation necessary. The horizontal level, these leveling feet in that position, it actually plays a part in the timekeeping. Because a balance wheel, positioned more towards the back here, will not be engaging with the pallet fork as deeply as a balance wheel hanging more towards the front, and so forth. So, regulation is normal, especially through the change of the seasons at home. You will notice that things move around. Your house moves, especially in the northern hemisphere here. Things move around, and regulation's a normal thing. But to answer your question, I usually go 2 to 3 weeks. On eBay, you'll often see that people classify an Atmos clock as running just because the balance wheel moves, which doesn't mean it's a running clock at all. It just means that suspension wire hasn't been severed, basically. It doesn't indicate to you whether that will actually keep time either. I hear you perfect. And thank you for tuning in from the Netherlands. That's impressive. And John, I just don't have any luck with eBay. I always have to send them out to you to get them working. Yeah, I understand. That's a big deal. Another thing about eBay is the sellers are in obscurity. They don't have a business listing. They don't advertise their services. They just have an eBay name. And with something so delicate and touchy and a precision instrument like an Atmos clock, customer service and support instructions are things that are absolutely necessary, and they kind of scare people away when you don't provide that in purchasing a high value item as an Atmos clock. So that's kind of where I decided that it was going to be important to come with some instructions, some support, kind of demystifying, quote unquote, the Atmos clock, as some viewers have said. And it's just to help out the owners. If the owners are happy and successful with running their clocks, starting their clocks, they're going to value their clocks more. They're going to keep them off of a no reserve auction, and it's going to increase the value of everybody's Atmos clocks. And that's what's happening. And it's been a process that's gradually coming around. Okay, I'm going to pull my parts out of the cleaner now. And thank you, by the way, John, for sending those clocks to me for service. That's wonderful. I really appreciate it. just an FYI too, when I lose something like that bushing, or say I'm responsible for breaking something, I don't charge it to the client either. I eat it myself and take that on the chin. All right, all cleaned up, hopefully nice and shiny and sparkly. All right, we're back. And Mr. Rude, I suppose is how you would pronounce it. Another portion of observing the timekeeping after servicing is the condition of the suspension wire. Because the wire is contained inside the balance tube, I can't simply look at it and guarantee that it's in good shape. So the way that I'm testing them is by allowing them to run, and then when regulation pops up, a bad wire will often not respond to regulation adjustments, or respond the opposite way as it should. Say I'm attempting to slow it down and it will actually speed up. There's quite a few other ways to know get an idea that balance or that suspension wire is in trouble. And another one of them is low amplitude or rotation on the balance wheel. But that can also be caused by pallet fork. So you kind of have to deduce and eliminate variables to identify what's going on. We got our clock from a well-known collector. He works now for more than 2 months perfect. Is that good? Yeah, that sounds great. That's good. What's his name, if you don't mind to share? I do get contacted from people in the Netherlands, Australia, New Zealand, France, Italy, England, Sweden. Can't forget the good old Swedes. Clients are calling me and they're probably upset. He never answers his phone. Sorry about that. I used to. Van Brugge. Cool. I'm not familiar with him, but sounds like it's going well. It's going to be just fine for you. What is the cost of an Atmos overhaul in the Netherlands, if you don't mind me asking? Around 800 euros for an overhaul. Wow. It's close to $1,000 US. My price is about 200 euros. Thank you, Metal Rails. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you enjoy my low quality videos and rambling. Probably repeating myself all the time too, but if you can make it through that, wow, you can make it through anything. Okay. I do have some shipping instructions too. I can email them to you if you'd like. You can shoot me an email at kurtzclocks@gmail.com if you want to, and I will respond with some pretty straightforward shipping instructions. Make sure you can get it here safely. Good teachers. Good. Very happy. Happy to help. And Mr. Rude, when you watch those it seems like you're pretty educated in terms of speaking English quite well. But if you ever watch those videos, are you able to put put captions on for Dutch underneath the video. First try again, just like last week. I picked the best looking screws to put on the front. Put the aged ones on the back where nobody will see them. There's their all-powerful fourth wheel. cap jewel. Westminster chime. It's not the right size. To get the other one, which I have right over here. I suppose this is not for this clock either. Nope. These are for 519s, I imagine. So, we're either going to have to go back to the pile here and find one, or else get back on the ground, find where that bad boy went. Thanks again, guys, for watching. This is great. Gives me somebody to talk to instead of being in solitude so often. You know, repairing all alone and whatnot. Have some friends along now. And I don't see one here. But we'll find one. Here's one. That looks right. No. What's going on here? Get enlarged? No. Okay, there we go. Oh, no. Close. Closer. Yeah, something must have happened here with this. It's become enlarged. It's not something that you see every day. But we got this pressed down in there tightly now. It's gonna stay on. All right, moving on, moving on. You gotta find that original. It's really bothering me. Yeah, thanks for stopping in. If you have to take off, not a problem. I much appreciate it. And you could always come back later. Watch it on replays, not a problem. Have a great weekend. Okay, the all-powerful pallet fork. Looks good. Not too bent out of shape. I have a video describing how to start the Atmos clock without using the hands, and the importance of that is if you're using the hands to start it, it will work for you, but what you're doing is you're putting a lot of stress on the prongs, on each prong of your pallet fork here. And that gap is a specific setting, and as it widens and widens, the function decreases, and eventually you won't have a running clock. So that's an important reason not to use the hands to start your Atmos clock. I do wish we could kind of listen to music together, but I always get hit with a copyright strike. All right, time to put the movement on. Nice and smooth. And this pallet fork actually has the opposite issue, it looks like, going on. Instead of the prong gap being too wide, it looks like it's too tight. And so it's pinching that roller and stopping it. I'm gonna presume will happen here. We'll see as it comes around. Yep. Yep, it's too tight. It's grabbing that roller. So we carefully enter in here and do this. And you know what? I'm actually going to do this the right way for you guys here today. Take it off and do this safe and secure way. So have to widen that gap on there ever so slightly. That looks better. Are you still with us, Mr. Stephan? We are going to look at your Atmos clock here next. Alright, there we go. Looks good there. First pass around. So now this is something I mentioned last week, but this is where I pause and I let it run like this for a day, maybe half a day, depends. Just observing the rotation of the balance wheel, the action of the pallet fork. Don't want to get too ahead of myself and have to come back and disassemble everything. But looks good so far. Great rotation. I'm assuming that this suspension wire was well taken care of, but we will confirm that. Okay, get some of this out of the way a little bit. And we'll take down Mr. Steffen's Atmos 528 square dial. Actually, let's go the other way. Let's go this way with it. Okay. Here we have Mr. Steffen's 528 square dial with the freshly redone deep blue metallic dial on it. Looks quite dark, but as you get light on that, you can see that it does in fact show some blue. And I get a lot of compliments on these dials, and they're unique to our specific workshop here at Curt's Clocks. And they turn out great. They're something that just make this Atmos clock pop. But what we have going on here is we have the original black tipped hands on this blue dial. Makes it a bit hard to tell the time from a distance. So we want to go with solid gold hands so that they stand out when depicting the time on the Atmos clock. Mr. Steffen, this clock was produced on June 12th, 1980. I did have to solder the chain and repair that at one point. That's what happened. We have a nice set of impeccable hands here, spot free, clean, and good looking. I'm happy you like it, John. It's good news. And like I mentioned, this is the only square dial with the deep blue metallic. There are some that have the lapis lazuli, which is, you know, the crushed stone with the speckles and dots in it. But as far as deep blue metallic, this is the only square dial out there. I don't think I can zoom in. We'll take the whole camera down here for you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the blue and gold just really make the Atmos clock pop. I mean, it's a whole different ball game once you do that. $185 if anybody's interested, with the deposit of your dial, your previous dial. Then when unlocking, I do this very slowly and carefully. These are spring loaded, and if you go and flip that over too quickly, it can throw your balance, send it flying, and you don't want to do that. You want to keep it under control. And while leveling, I'm looking at the position of the balance tube as it passes through that plate, that shelf there, and hanging it directly over the hole like a bullseye, like a plumb bob or a string with a weight on it, directly over the center, not off to either side. We want it right in the middle. This one does have a spirit level that's accurate and positioned properly. And then I think on the video I saw some of these little water spots and whatnot on the case. That will wipe off and clean off. I'll take care of that. I'm actually going to change this. Let's do it like this. Well, first we'll clean it up here. And just a damp rag, I'm going to go wet this a little bit in the sink. And you never want to use any Windex or alcohol-based cleaning sprays or solvents on your case. You just use a damp rag. The clear coat lacquer gets taken off when you use Windex. And you can tell when that's happened over the course of many years. You'll literally see the wipe marks held in the metal when someone's been spraying the clock with Windex. And a lot of the surface level dust and grime comes clean, comes right off. Ends up looking nice and shiny. How's our 522 doing? Still running strong over there? Another thing that you have to add to a clock that's been recently serviced is you have to keep at least the top cover, if not all of them, all the glass back on it, just to keep any dust from landing on the freshly clean movement. I am going to wash all the glass and the case and so forth, so that's why it's open like that for now. But it's not something you want to leave exposed for too long. And then again, just slowly releasing that. Make sure you don't throw your balance wheel across the room. And positioning, making sure it's all leveled up. And it looks good. And then the time looks like it's about 2 o'clock. And whenever I go in and set time or touch the hands, I make sure that the balance wheel has rotated clearly away. So we're, approaching the end of the rotation here. Then I will be able to touch the hands and move them forward, always only forward. Because that fork and the roller interact, if you go and touch your hands while that roller is approaching the fork, you can stop the clock. You can also jump that fork out of action, which I have another video describing called How to Put the Atmos Clock Back into Action. And then careful too with your front panel. You don't want to kind of pinch them and get that leverage of the bezel put on the corner of your front panel. There, often you'll find little chips and cracks on them where a person kind of rushed a little bit and chipped that glass. Yours is in perfect condition here, shape. And these are not chips. These are actually little bells on purpose to help prevent that from happening. So now we'll show you how much more readable the time is when we have those gold hands on there. And it doesn't really look that much different on my camera for whatever reason. I kind of have a shadow hanging in there. Lighting is always an issue with the camera work. show really nice. I clean my Atmos clock the same as you do. Absolutely no chemicals. Absolutely. Yep. Yep. And then after you go and get everything all cleaned up, you don't want to have your fingerprints, you know, smudges and whatnot going back all over the glass. So you know, wear gloves. That's great. The guy with the cart going to drop it off. With the cart? What do you mean, John, the guy with the cart? Aside from clock operation, do you recommend that people try to shine and treat the brass or just leave it alone? Yeah, kind of like I was mentioning, you know, you just want to do clear, or a damp rag, water only, clean up your brass a little bit. Now, there is a clear coat lacquer finish over the brass. So if you want to go and do a brass restoration, which I offer and do, you're going to have to strip that clear coat first. You're going to have to get through that first in order to buff or polish your brass. And then if you're going to leave it brass, you're going to have to reapply a clear coat again to keep it protected, because brass is highly reactive, and any moisture, salt, oil from your fingers, you know, even just the air, the moisture content of the air is enough to start popping up little brown, darker brown spots on your brass. And that's why they have that clear over them. And these are actually gilted, which means that they're brass with another brass plate over them for the high shine value. And then some are also 24 karat gold plated. The guy I sold the clock to with the cart going to drop it off. Not sure what you mean there. Hopefully. The guy I sold the clock to. I don't think I sold you this clock, did I? This was your clock. I do have a 528 that's going to be coming up for sale here. I'll show you that. This one here will be for sale, coming soon. So it will either go like this, and it's in fabulous condition, by the way, or else we'll put the deep blue metallic on it, deep blue lapis. We'll see. There's a lot of different models going here. We have more up here. We'll put yours back over there where it belongs. Oh, you mean the Sheeny? Yeah, the Sheeny man. Yep. Yeah, we'll pay him a couple soda bottle caps to bring the clock to you. So just to compare here, how much that deep blue dial stands out with compared with the rest of the clocks. And I know there's a little bit of a glare. You can't hardly see it with the light shining this way, but it looks fabulous. There. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you're happy with the service and that you're enthusiastic about Atmos clocks and willing to tune in to my crazy live stream. And Mr. LaFleur, who's 522 we just did, he's also going to be getting a deep blue metallic dial himself. With the 522 dials, unfortunately, there isn't enough space to fit that Curt insignia underneath the 12. And they didn't have them there originally either, as you can see. But it will feature a Swiss underneath the 6 at least. So that way you'll be able to get that much out of it. And he also wants a 24 karat gold case restoration, which is fantastic. And I have quite a bit of those piling up now. And I'm going to do a video showing me gold plate 3 Atmos clock cases together. So be on the lookout for that, because some people have kind of wondered if I'm in fact actually plating them myself or if I'm hiring it out, and I assure you that I am in fact the guy plating the cases. But in the meantime, I think we will get this glass cleaned up here on the 522. And I also have to remake gaskets. I think I mentioned that before, but these gaskets get hard and brittle and they don't do a whole lot for you. And this glass, which is original glass, inside of their metal frame here, any bounce or jolt along the travel could risk the glass breaking. So I go and make some new gasketry. And this is a reason why the 528, such as you have, Mr. Stefan, 528-8, has the plastic top. Also, it has to do with the design and formation of the case. Those 4 case posts actually pass through your top plastic and are held in place with that. So it's almost like this tray instead is the plastic itself, and those posts are screwed down through that. With those top plastic pieces exclusive to the 528-8, they will scuff and scratch very easily. So any little dust or abrasive on there, you want to try and blow off or blot it with your damp rag first, because if you go and give it a harsh wipe, you'll add a bunch of different scuffs and scratches into that. And since the 528-8 came the 540 model, which is back to glass, but features a heavy rubber gasket surrounding this tray, or this glass piece. And so then, they've done away with this metal tray design on those as well. But back to glass, I think that people kind of preferred the glass better. So I'm gonna get these cleaned up here, and I don't know how much of my camera's picking it up, but they're quite dusty and dirty. And when I'm done with them, they're gonna look crystal clear. And then again, like the 526-5, you have a Curt insignia logo here on the glass, which is in perfect condition, and it's on the back side of the glass. And if you take your damp rag and wipe over that name, it will completely wipe it away. So always be conscious and careful of that, because you don't want to lose that. That's pretty neat. I have looked into ways of replacing that, but I've been unsuccessful so far. It's sort of like a decal, or I forget what they're called. When you put them on your car, you use water. It's not a sticker, but I don't know, decal or something. But our 522 is still running along nicely. One of my favorite. The door is really unique. It's quite heavy too. But this milling pattern, produced in the 50s before CNC, means that a person, likely had to stand there and manually run their fly cutter up and down to give this design, which I've learned is called the Haute de Genève, which means like the coat of Geneva. At least when it's put into other watch movements, that's what they refer to it as. And when stopping your Atmos clock at home, you can certainly just stop it at the end of the balance rotation once that's gone still, and then you can lock it and move your clock to another location or whatever. And then again, just gently unlock, controlled fashion, and let it go from there. If you're going to ship in the mail, I do not recommend to simply lock it at the end of the rotation. When you ship in the mail, you want to lock it with that roller captured inside the fork in the center. And that way you don't have any risk of your pallet fork jumping around, getting beat up, or jumping out of action. So this would likely just be an overhaul. The bellow has come up slightly. It is fairly low. It's a candidate for a recharge, but I will look into that further just to make sure. I don't go and replace things unnecessarily, and that's part of the way I'm able to keep the costs down low for people. And it's, making do with what we have here, original and the parts that the clock came with, which means that it could need to be cleaned sooner. It could need to be looked at again. But in the end, it does save the clients a lot of money to do it this way. So I'm going to take this glass and go and clean it up, and I will be right back to show you the way that they look. I'll actually bring one piece back at a time. And if you decide that you want to check out or anything, no problem. I appreciate the time that you've spent this far. It's great. It's awesome. Gives me somebody to talk to. Well, anyways, you did a beautiful job. Thank you. I usually dust the top off with a clean makeup brush. I don't use pressure welder. There you go. That's a great idea. That's a way to do it. Yeah, that's a good idea. George in Houston, I ordered the tank plate from you last night. One of the studs came off. How to reattach top and the skinny bar in front of the latch. Oh, are you speaking about your 528 case top? That I was actually kind of just talking about that. That skinny bar that goes inside of there next to your plastic. Is that what you mean? Great question. I can, let me get this glass cleaned up here and then I will show you an example of how to put that back together. Yeah, just give me 1 second, George, and we'll get that going next. if I get this too cleaned up, you won't want the case restoration anymore. All right, we're almost there, George. And I will get that part shipped out for you, that drum cover, probably on Monday. We'll go out priority mail, 2 to 3 day delivery. So you'll probably have it within 2 days, being Houston. So probably Wednesday next week it'll arrive for you. All right. Okay, now what are we looking at here? The 528 case situation. I have an example around here somewhere. Oh, here we go. Okay, when you have your clock upside down, you're going to go on each corner and pull out the corner screws, and then you can lift your entire, why don't I show you that? I'll show you the whole deal here. All right. Are you still here, George? Good, good. Okay. So I imagine you've already gotten this far, but we'll go over it anyway. So each corner, and you got to get your door, your front panel springs. Pulled off with the screws. Okay, so you got it upside down here, and you just lift from your base upward, straight, and maybe you have to rock it a little bit, kind of break it loose, and just carefully lift that upward, and then move your clock off to the side and out of the way. All right, then come and pull your glass panels out, and you have this gasket here that has some stickum on it, so it might be stuck. This one came off easily, but you might have to kind of rock these back and forth as well, like so, and lift out. Put them in a pile off to the side. So you got those out of the way, okay? Now, turn it back up right here and get a long flathead screwdriver. The longer the shaft you have on your screwdrivers, the more leverage you can get. And now here, it's really important to put good downward pressure. Good down pressure while turning so that you don't slip and scratch your case. Okay, now these top screws are really brown and they're rusted out, and if anybody else has that issue at home, I can replace those for you. I think it's $55. I can replace all 4 of these. They're 24 karat gold plate, so we can get that taken care of if you have that issue too. Let's see if we can put the camera here closer. All right. So, okay, so now since I have that one post removed like so, you're going to come underneath. Well, now I suppose it's too close. Yeah, we'll go back. Alright, I kind of would like you to be able to see what I'm doing with my hands or whatever. So now you got your one screw out of this corner here. You're going to hold it up, support it, and gently pull that out. And these have a specific way of going in, so I lay them in order next to each other, and that way you don't forget about it. Okay. And then we'll go over here to this other top one. And now down pressure, good down pressure, and remove so we don't have any slip and no scratches. Also, using the proper sized blade on your screwdriver is really important. You want it to fit into that screw tightly. If it has space, you're going to mar and scratch up your screws. Alright, now here's where that bar is going to come falling out. So I want to have my hands underneath here holding that up while I take that other post out of the way. Okay, so that bar, maybe you've already had this happen, but will often come falling out like that. Alright, and set that here. I'll do the other ones just for the sake of it, so you can take a look at this plastic top that I was just actually talking about, this kind of the case design. And also I've seen people wondering what do the 528-8, what does the -6, what do these things mean? And what they're detailing is the case. 528-6 and a 528-8 feature a 528 caliber movement, but that -6 and -8 is indicating the case design. The 528-6 had that lift-off cover, and this 528-8 with the front press-down panel. Okay, so now everything's removed here, and this is that panel, and this is why I can't just go and simply replace this with a glass one. I have been requested that before. Why don't you throw a glass one in there for me? Well, because it's part of the case design and the way that it's assembled. And these notches here actually fit those case posts in them, and then the screws passing through, so it's not something that you can just swap out with a glass piece. Alright, so now back to putting it together. So like I mentioned, since you have these notches, those have to be facing upward. In this case, the way that we're putting this back together, that would be facing upward. And then I like to come over to the edge of my table here, like so. So you have your table holding that top and everything steady for you, like that. And then you grab your bar. Now this also only goes in one direction. This has, beveled edges. And then this tab, of course, is where that front panel press down knob will go. So that bar has to go in with each of these angles on the sides, on the edges there, lining up in front here on the top case bezel and going right in there like that. And get down here and show you. Okay. Lay it in there, and it'll only go in there one way. You know, you can't turn it around, won't fit, can't turn it upside down, you won't have your notch in the right spot. So that little front panel door tab notch there, so you just line that up there like so. Alright, and now the reason why we're at the edge of the table here is because you're going to take your front case post and look at it closely. One side has a gasket tube on the front. Now we're looking for our front left case post here. So one side has a gasket tube, the other is empty because that's where your glass panel fits. All right, and then also you'll notice that one side has a notch at the top. Okay, that notch is to host your bar that we're talking about here. And then again, the flat side facing outward, round side of this case post facing inside the case. And you want to kind of rock that into that notch on the plastic top and make sure it's in there flush and fitting. And then you have your notch on the post coming down over the top of that bar, and now we're at the edge of the table, so I can take this screw and just come right up through the bottom of the case and see it and watch it, and then I'll just hand tighten that down and hand tighten that in until it's holding that bar for me. I mean, it's not tight, but it's not going to go anywhere. And then same thing on this other side, but now you know which direction they're going, so those notches towards the inside, towards the center over that bar, and then the same thing here. And I see this top bezel has a common issue that you'll run into from time to time, which is a split, is a crack. Decent one, decent size crack on the top bezel there. That's something to look for when you're negotiating, I guess, prices. If you're going to try and buy a clock with somebody at a estate sale or whatever, is you can point out those cracks. There is a way to fix them. Also, the bases, you'll see those often on the 528 corner base, bottom base corners. You'll see these cracks. And then I lined my case posts up with the top here, the bottom over here, so that I can remember which direction they go. And now here, both of the back posts have gaskets on both sides, so they can go in either way, I guess, but it really is only one direction if you're putting the top back in. And then the same thing here is we're just passing through both that top bezel and then the plastic and trying to gain a little bit of threading into that post so that it's going to be held there for me, at least somewhat satisfactorily. Might have to rock it a little bit because you want to get that post into that notch on the plastic. And then if it doesn't want to turn with your fingers, you could just grab your screwdriver and turn it in there. And you don't have to go all the way tight. We'll leave it a little bit loose. And I'll show you why we're doing that in a moment. Same thing, kind of rock it in there, get it into position, hand tighten. Okay, so now all of my posts are back in there and my bar is back in place. Everything's going to be fine and dandy. And now again, we're not going to tighten all the way. We're just tightening it down to close to flush to hold these posts somewhat straight. Alright, and the reason why we didn't tighten them all the way is so that our glass can slide in with ease. After we have that pressed down, gasket side down again. If your gasket's stuck on the top bezel, then it's, you can go either direction with it, doesn't matter. Get these in. Okay, then I take it, and while holding the glass steady on all sides with my hands, take it and turn it back over like this now. Okay, and so now you can tighten down another few turns or whatever. You don't have to go all the way again. And the reason is because sometimes when you tighten these all the way down, it'll pull your posts around and they won't line up on your holes on the base of the clock. So I have it like that, and I go back and turn it over. And now I'm going to grab my Atmos clock by the base and gently just slide that back over the top here. Make sure all your posts are contained in the right spot. Okay. And then you also want to make sure your bar functions. If that spring bar that's held with these door springs on the underside, if that's stuck upward, kind of wiggle your cases and pull them with your fingers out a little bit, and you heard it there, it let that bar go. So it's stuck up there now. Pull these aside, drops. And you come back over here now and push them all in. And you're pretty much done now. I think you probably can figure out the rest of it, but I'll show you. Come back and tighten these, and I tighten these down snug. Make sure that that door spring doesn't slide off that little post that it presses onto. It has a dimple where it fits that right in there. Go diagonal, go top, then back, then front, and back, go around. And once everything else is in there tight, now you can crank them. And don't crank too hard, but crank them tight. Make sure the case is all snug and put back together well. Okay. And of course the balance wheel is locked when we're doing this. Now we come back over to the top, and now we'll tighten these down fully. And you don't have to crank, you don't have to go too harsh on them, but just so that they're tight and good down pressure so you don't slip, you don't mar them. And that's that. And now you come back and make sure that your front panel wants to function, and it does. I hope that helped you. Yes, yes, yes. I'm back. What a result you have made in the time between. Yeah, very clear. I did not turn the clock upside down and remove the post. I only unscrewed the top. Okay. So I guess I have to remove the post from the base to reassemble. Yeah, yeah. The way that I showed you is pretty much the safest and easiest way to do that. So yeah, I would go and pull those case posts out of the base as well. All right, guys. I don't know if you have any more questions. I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, I suppose I could cut this off here, and don't want to waste too much of your time. But yes, Mr. Rude, we do have the 522 all running. I cleaned the glass on it. I showed George how to put his 528-8 bar back into the top. I also showed Mr. Stefan his 528 with the deep blue metallic lapis dial, and we put some solid gold hands on. Not solid like, solid gold, but one color gold hands. They don't have the black tips. Put those on it so the time could be tell easier. And yeah, just me babbling on and on. So I guess you didn't really miss a whole lot. And I know what else you could watch me do. I could make some gaskets here while we're hanging out. So and my apologies, Mr. Rude, if I'm pronouncing your last name incorrectly. My guess was that it was Rude and not Rudd, but I could be incorrect. Perhaps maybe neither of those are right. I do want to get them to lay flat for me. And that's it. I'm very impressed. And look in on another way to my 526.5. Correct. Yep. As you noticed, I didn't disassemble the bottom base, the base plate, and things of that nature because these 522s and 526.5s have a lot of little parts inside of this base that can be kind of tricky. If you go and disassemble that completely, they can be kind of cumbersome or tricky and problematic to deal with. So I take those apart this way, leaving the posts standing so I don't have to deal with that. However, this clock, the owner does want a case restoration, so I will have to go through that later. But just for our live stream here today, we're gonna just look at it like that. I know a good one since you mentioned 526.5. Same thing with the door situation now. Now the door has a hole on the bottom and a hole on the top that have to get lined up and pressed into place. Where'd it go? There it is. And then I just gently lift top entire bezel with glass, tray, and bezel included. And now swing it over and close it. You hear that click and then it's in place. And when we come around and tighten these down, you kind of have to press that post around, get it lined up so that you can find that hole. And I don't go all the way down, I just get it snug a little bit. Then I come on to the opposite corner, diagonal corner here. Same thing, you kind of have to manipulate the post around a little bit, and then you'll see it take traction, and that screw will start to disappear on you. And come over here. Same thing, moving that around a little bit until it takes hold. There it is. Good down pressure and proper size screwdriver because you don't want to slip, you don't want to scratch, and you don't want to wreck your screws. Okay, now I'll tighten this one down. Not crazy. We're not going to crank it down too hard. Same thing back corner here, and then I'm going to show you something about these doors. Okay, first and foremost, when you come and open your 526.5, brace the clock with one hand, your left hand, while you pull the door with your other, because they can be kind of tight and you don't want to go and yank your Atmos off the shelf or even just move it a little bit when you have it all leveled up nicely. So brace with one hand and open here. Now if your door is so tight that it's just you're gonna pull the knob off, it's so tight, just come up to your corner and leave this top corner on the left side, this screw up here, just back that out a little bit. You can loosen that up just a little bit, and then your door will function easier for you. And you can also do the same on the other front corner screw here, is just back it out, like a quarter of a turn, and then test it there. And then you can, get at the time setting a little bit easier if it's not cranked down so tight. That's kind of another simple or obvious one. I'm sure you guys have probably thought about that, but that's that, man. I think I better go eat some lunch, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. We'll do this again on Friday. I hope that you guys will tune in again next Friday at 12:10. It'll be the day after Thanksgiving here in the United States, so we will. It'll be Black Friday. So if you're not out shopping, if you have some time, you can check in and see what we're doing here in the workshop. If not, you can also watch these live streams later. So thanks again, everybody. Please like the videos. You know, get those likes up because YouTube will recommend these to more people if they see that people are clicking the like button and also that people are interacting and commenting. Oh, we got a call here. Good afternoon. This is Michael. Oh, hey, Mr. Pearson. Oh, good. I'm very happy. Yeah. Yes, he does. Yeah. Do you have like a Seth Thomas When's Mr. Chime mantle clock or something? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he does. Would you like me to give you his number? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's 952 854 6857. Yep, yep. And give him a call, and he can kind of give you an estimate over the telephone, and then schedule a time to bring it in with him, and he'll let you know. Uh-oh. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Well, just make sure you get a hold of him and schedule a time. You know, he works out of his home, so he kind of gets his hands full with things and whatnot. But yes, he is. Yep. Yep, that's right. All right. Approximately, yes. It's not something that's exact, but yeah, you do want to move one increment at a time when you're going regulate. Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad that you're happy. And if you have a chance, go on my Google profile there and leave a good review. That really helps a lot because it requires quite a bit of trust to get people to send their precious family heirlooms across the country to me for service. So when they see those good 5-star reviews, it makes them more willing to do that. All right, great. Thank you very much. Yep, have a great day. Bye bye. All right, guys, sorry about that. We will talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. Click those like buttons. Ciao.